Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I'm back with a new video. This is me doing a VR to the tag Aspirational Tarot. Okay, so this is, like I said, a VR. It's a VR to Rowan here, and I guess technically also a little bit to Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books, since that's the first person whose channel I saw it on. And this is a tag video for tarot that came out earlier this year, and I'm just getting around to filming. um, Honestly, I don't do a lot of tarot tags in VRs because I don't have a collection large enough to not just constantly be repeating the same decks for every question. It's just, at least for me, it feels very redundant. So it is what it is. But when I do come across one where I feel like, oh, wouldn't be giving the same responses I did for a totally different, unrelated tag, then I'm all in. So this one I loved immediately. It's one of those where I was watching and immediately answers were coming into my mind as the other person was giving their answers. So here we are. Alright, this is fairly quick, though. Will I shut up? There's only 4 questions, or 5 questions. Question number 1. What is my ideal number of decks? I don't know. I amused myself, so if you didn't laugh, it's okay. I'm just amused at the fact that I was like, I can think of answers as I'm watching other people respond, and my answer to the first question is I don't know. 100, 52, or 48. These are numbers that just jump into my head. Without too much thought. 52 weeks in the year, 100 is a nice round number. Like, why wouldn't I? 100 seems more than enough to me. I have this relatively small collection. There's a couple behind me. These down here, not behind here. And I have about 28 now. There are several types of decks that I want to try, and there's no guarantee I will love. There's other decks I want for very specific purposes. Some for reasons, I don't know. I just feel like for some reason I want a deck for each category, and I don't even have an idea of what all the categories are. So, but I do think about that a lot. And for all the various uses. And at some point, I would probably have multiple decks for each category and compare and contrast them and figure out which ones are the ones that ultimately are most useful for me, right? So I might go up to 100 and then pare it down to like 48 because I figured out the categories that are most useful to me and the decks in those categories that are most useful. But yeah, I'll go more into like the categories or the types of decks or the uses for decks later. Question number 2. What is my ideal storage solutions or situation for my current reality? My current reality is exactly what I have. Like, this deck is here. There was no deck here. It's very precariously situated, and it has fallen several times already because that was not a spot for a deck. But I think this is the last deck I purchased or was gifted, even the Buffy Tarot. I literally don't have any more space. But um, ideally, if I got rid of some other stuff, or I moved to a different place or whatever, different situation, ideally, I think I would want a bookcase where I can have all of my decks just laid out so I can see each deck. I don't care too much about bag or box. Some boxes I have learned through the past 15 years of experience don't hold up as well. Um, but that's okay. I can get another box or whatever have you, or another bag. Um, I just want to be able to see all of my decks at a glance. Like I mentioned, down here, there's another row of decks behind. Um, and that's annoying. I guess I would like all of my disheveled decks, the ones falling apart, to be in bags or wraps so that they do not, the boxes don't disintegrate any further. And I want the bookshelf space for also my journals, my divination journals, and any in progress oracle decks that I'm creating. So I started 2 different ones, and I've since thought of some others, but no ideas yet. Maybe some crystals or statues, or for divination purposes, sprays and things I can also put on that bookshelf. Because I feel like most bookshelves are made for books, which are bigger than most decks, boxes, or whatever have you. So there'd be a lot of open real estate on a bookcase with just decks. The way it is here, too many things fall out on the sides. I've also had a similar setup in another apartment. And while this is nice, I had it rain in my apartment from the ceiling along the wall there, and a bookcase with, a back and sides will protect the decks a whole lot better than this does in case of something like that. Like, I've been here for a long time and that hasn't happened here, but I still remember. Question number 3, how do I want to use the tarot versus how I am currently using the tarot now? Why the discrepancy, if there is one? Alright, so when I did this was back in May. Right? Things have changed a little bit. At the time, and honestly up until maybe June, yeah, I think, I wasn't really using my decks at all. And I'm including oracle decks in this whole thing, right? Not just tarot, oracle decks as well. I probably have more oracle than tarot. But I mostly use all of my decks for like personal development, learning about myself and dealing with myself. For most of the first half of this year, I was taking a break. I wasn't doing any readings at all, not even like 1 card pulls or anything for like full moons, or not even the simple stuff. I basically burned out last year. I did the deck and walk. I did some deck study stuff. I did the deck and walk was really the big thing, because I was studying the cards from an astrological standpoint, but also from a tarot standpoint, and I was doing moon readings. in the various moon, not phases, but signs they were in. I was doing readings for each zodiac sign, and then readings for each decan, and readings for each zodiac sign the moon was in. I didn't even finish the deck and walk. That's why I haven't done a wrap up video about that, because I got burnt out by the time January came. And then I did my annual reading, and it was a lot. I just stopped and didn't pick up any cards for anything for months, which, you know, is not the longest I've gone without doing any readings. I had just gotten back into it when I did this tag. When I say I did it in May, I mean I wrote them my answers and everything. You don't have to make a video for all of the things, but I wanted to this time. I started getting back into it a little bit with the exploring color and tarot. That was really interesting to me because I love color and tarot. That's like the base for me. The colors tell me the mood and the feelings. So doing some color spreads, some more color spreads as I have done. Going back to the deck studies because I do want to finish. I have like 4 that I've started, and I'm just like, I need to complete these. Whether that will happen this year now, we'll see. I have slowly started coming back to 1 to 3 card readings for daily or weekly forecasting, like energy readings, and I've done some readings for clients. It's October at the time of filming this, so there's definitely going to be more of those. Help with making some decisions. I have used the tarot and oracle cards with that, with some decision making. And meditations and affirmations, I've started doing that again as thanks in part to the 22 weeks practice tied to the Spirit Keepers Tarot here. I've also done the rare deity readings and holiday spreads, like I mentioned. So last year, I also put aside this really strong urge to do some spirit readings and tarot for spells, and I know those are the big, like, worries or no-nos for people not in this. And by that, I mean a lot of non-card readers or people not into anything esoteric or pagan or anything like that, or the occult, kind of see that as the evil of tarot, of card reading, and clearly I don't believe that, but stuff I want to try. I want to use them for my herbal practice. I've got some herb decks, some plant decks here now, and herbal preparations based on cards I pull is an idea I had. Maybe have a deck council, create a deck council, or have decks for specific deities. Just have a more concrete divination practice, I think, in general, for shadow work and for self-care. And I might use them. I want to try using them to create journal prompts. And to be perfectly honest, I want to hang some up as artwork. There are some texts I want to get because they are beautiful and gorgeous. The whole deck. I can't just choose a print from one or two cards. So, yeah. Question number 4. What tarot or oracle decks would I have that I currently don't? Or, yeah. A lot. This is where I'll get into the category. But before I get into that, there are 3 or 4 decks that I truly want. There's the True Black Tarot, which is absolutely gorgeous. I love that it's made by an Asian man from New York. So I want it for that. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous. That is one of those decks that I wouldn't mind just putting up on the wall and never using. But it's also a pip deck, which I don't have anymore. I had gotten rid of the 1 or 2 that I had when I didn't know what a pip deck was, and one was more based on Marseille, Tarot de Marseille, and I didn't realize it at the time. This was really early in my tarot learning. It was a little cheap, one from Barnes and Noble, but yeah, having a pip deck would be nice. Now that I know what that is and can conceptualize how I could possibly read with that. But the other 3, there's Bangtan Tarot. This is not an official release. And maybe I'll get it this year. I don't even know if they're still making any copies. I haven't asked. I don't even know how much it costs because I was like, I don't have the money. This is not in my budget. It's not a need. So I'm not even going to think about. There's 2 coming out this year. The Call of the Morrigan Oracle. And I got to see a sneak peek at 1 card at Morrigan's Call Retreat earlier this year. And yeah, that also kind of sparked off the idea of making my own oracle decks for specific deities. And lastly, there's the Dark Hunters Tarot. I'm not in love with this art style, but this is a series that I've loved for a really long time, a book series, and the author is a Kickstarter up for this deck. I have not funded the Kickstarter. I've never funded a Kickstarter for anything. I don't know that I'm going to start now, but I think it was fully funded. They're working on the guidebook at this point in time. The art style is not bad. It's just not my favorite, but it's also not a surprise because it's one that the author has indicated for well over a decade, if not 2, that she quite enjoys for her book characters. So I'd be interested in that. So categories. I'm just going to start spieling them off here. Right, so fandom, pop culture decks, I am absolutely 100% drawn to. I am a 90s girl. I was born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s. I'm a millennial, and pop culture is part of my blood. There's so many decks, and I'm just like, I get it. I get the archetype. It's storytelling. It's archetypes. It's various ways of showing the parts of the human experience, and I realized that it clicks so much faster with those decks. X by Asian artists or with Asian authors decks, Marseille decks, the Tarot de Marseille, and maybe a couple of that are kind of based on it. I do like that particular pip style. And like I said, now I can conceptualize how I can read those kind of cards, um, even without studying the Marseille style. Um, I want more. So I can study, so I can practice. More decks by Black artists and Black authors with Black characters. Same for the Asian ones. Some Thoth inspired decks. There's a couple that come to mind, mostly by M.M. Moline, but maybe others. Um, Ones by Hispanic artists and authors with Hispanic people in them. I would like some racial diversity, some ethnic diversity as well in my decks. Maybe some Lenormand. I'm not sure yet. That's that's a totally different card style, but maybe. Um, I think I want some God, male, or divine masculine deity decks. It's feeling very feminine in here, and that makes sense. But I want some more heavily male representation, I guess. Uh, there's a self care deck I've wanted for the longest time. Some tree decks because none of my plant decks have trees in them. No, that's not true. There's one that has a couple of trees. By a couple, I mean less than a handful. I gotta fix that. Some ADT decks. I don't remember what that means. The large Thoth deck, and I might trim it. So I have the normal sized one, which is apparently the small version. The regular size is large, so I would like that. There's a lot of details in Thoth. Some LGBT plus artists, creators, and authors and artists depictions in decks, some non-binary decks, uh, some black and white decks. I love color. We talked about this, but I'd be interested in that contrast, that lack of color. This white is like all of the colors, and the black is like lack of color or lack of light, really. But more modern decks. I got a couple. I would like more. Some decks with no people. There's been a couple that are like either animal decks or spaces that I am intrigued by. I would like to try them. Egyptian and or Chemiticism based decks. Some decks that I have a Crow or Morgan deck, and we Crow the Morgan probably cover that, but I think I still want to try one of these Crow tarot decks. Also, a Bladaya deck. I don't think such a thing exists, at least not for sale, so we shall see. For photography decks, I think I might be okay with those, and maybe some collage as well. A deck for my inner child or an inner teenager. Maybe decks for romance and relationships readings. Some sexually diverse decks. Decks with age diversity. I'm not too hung up on that, but I would like to see it, and not just in the court cards. Or at least decks with a majority of 50-plus-year-old characters. Most of them, it's not. So, yeah. And maybe some majors only decks. I've recently come to another realization of how those can be used, then in the past I've seen those and be like, so yeah. That's what I meant by the categories and the uses of the deck. So, a sort of fifth question. Some other stuff I kind of want that's tarot and oracle related. Some art prints. Like, also a dedicated desk area for readings at home. I don't have one. The spot that I use the most is my bed, which is fine, but it can get uncomfortable. So yeah, having a spot. So I guess this is more me expanding on the storage solution situation. I'd also ideally like to have some more completed reading cloths. I have 2, I think, yeah. And I have some other cloths that I also use as altar cloths, and they're just bolts of fabric that I didn't do anything with. Like, I don't need to. They fit on the altar. But having gotten a relatively new and like padded reading cloth, I was like, you know what, maybe I need some more of these. So those are my tarot aspirations. As usual, I talk too much, so of course this video is not less than 20 minutes. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you are new, hit the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming. I might be doing this ancestor work. We'll see if a video comes out of it. There's also Thoughttober, which I have started. We'll see if a video comes out of it. But links in the description to everything I've mentioned here that can be linked. And if you'd like to follow me anywhere else, there's also links to my Instagram and Twitter accounts. There's also a 10% off discount code to my Etsy shop where I make all natural bath and body products as well, for magical and mundane purposes, as well as offering tarot and oracle card readings. So, guys, thank you as always so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!